Bueno, buenos días.
Good day. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here and to be part of Trigar, representing the chambers of our country. The topic I'm going to develop is the quality of Argentine wheat. But before starting with the topic per se, I want to propose a history exercise. I propose you to go back to 1859 in our country and to think about how wheat was produced in Argentina. The first Swiss families installed in Argentina started the crops of wheat from seeds, from grains. We don't know, without any kind of control from the state as regards the production of seeds. That's what gave origin to those crops. But with those low yields, it was possible to answer the demands of the industrial quality with from the bakeries. This was a weakness, and our government was able to see this. And in 1912, the Agriculture Ministry launched a program for the improvement of the wheat produced in our country. For this task, foreign experts were hired, and they studied and but this problem wasn't just from Argentina, but our Uruguayan neighbors also were in the same situation, and they also incorporated foreigners to help them purify the material they were using to produce wheat. Among the Uruguayan experts, Dr. Werker and Dr. Klein worked together. Engineer Klein finishes his work with Uruguay and decides to set in Argentina. Reviewing those means of production with scarce technological development. And today we can multiply by 90 the yields that we can obtain in our country, and we can see that in the data by red of the INTA Paraná, which was of 6,054 kilograms per hectare. And that leap is possible thanks to the agroecological adaptability of wheat that wheat has found in the Argentinian land. These studies allowed the identification of different wheat zones with different climatic requirements, and they allowed to produce different volumes and different qualities of wheat. We have the different areas, but we cannot work just with areas. We can observe in the National Register of Crops that there are 385 varieties of wheat and some other varieties of durum wheat. The varieties of wheat for bread constitute a weak beat in this chain, in this productive chain. We know that we are in a difficult moment as regards the seeds law, and this is translated into new quality exigencies and new characteristics of the production. We now have productions to cover the entire demands of the entire country, but we also have varieties with the potential to produce different qualities. It's important in the chain to have the support of the industrial chain, but we also need an institutional framework, and we need more institutional organization. This is a strength.
This is a strength, and it's quite a feature in our country, as we have several private organizations that contribute to the chain, and there are 6 chambers in Argentina whose main purpose is to provide technical support to address or to help conflict resolution, and also to address business controversies. All of this contributes to more sustainable growth. So these chambers have, there's an objective or an idea to, so together with some private companies that have worked with INTA since 1990, these chambers create Trigo Argentino. Trigo Argentino, you can see it on this website. Anyone can have access to it to check quality data of each of the wheat regions of the country. Now I'd like to say something that I encountered when I was putting together this presentation, and the thing is that there are not as many countries in the world that provide information as to the quality of products. This is an advantage for our country, and the grains chambers have been working a lot in this regard. So we have information that dates back to 20 years, and this involves not only the rest of the players, because there are different players that participate. For example, exporters, stock people or companies in the stock business. So we have geolocalized values for each of the sub-regions of wheat in the country. Let's have a look at some of these aspects. For example, the protein profile of wheat. This in the timeline in the last 20 years, and in blue we can see the value of average protein on dry substance that has been recorded over the last 20 years. The last season gives us a protein value of 13.3%, and in general we can say that these protein levels are enough to supply markets such as Egypt or Algeria. However, in our hard times, we find it difficult to supply wheat that meets the needs of, for example, the Brazilian market. But there is a gap, as Agustin just mentioned, and we've been looking at this gap for some time now. When we study how to increase proteins, and this is the maximum protein curve, 16.2 in the last season. These top protein levels allow us to reach and supply more challenging markets such as Sudan, South Africa, Jordan, and Kenya, and the United Arab countries and the Gulf countries. So we have an appropriate level of proteins that we've been supplying the world with for the last few years. Gluten is the other aspect. In general, the requirement is 24%. In this chart, we can see that Argentina is ready to supply, and it actually surpasses these values. For example, the production of Canada in terms of gluten levels, that is around 23 or 24%. However, there's still things to do. Sometimes we find it hard to reach the level of American production in the United States.
Supera ampliamente a los valores del 62.
This other aspect, 62 or this is achieved with Desert Durum types of wheat, and this has a gap with a maximum acceptable that is suitable to supply, the most demanding markets. Now, to have a look at flour quality, something that characterizes the wheats in our country is their baking strength. 276, 264 was obtained in the last season. They meet the requirements of our competitors. So we are well positioned because we have been consistent enough in order to provide this feature. In conclusion, our country has agroecological conditions, the right agroecological conditions that allow for, wheat production in several settings. And so Argentina has suitable wheats, proper baking strength. This quality is monitored every year under a program that is carried out by the chambers, providing real-time information, not only for the domestic chain, but for the whole world. So with little additional effort in terms of seeds in particular, we can continue supplying the world with better quality wheats and meeting the demands of the most, or the requirements of the most demanding customers. We will continue supplying the world with high quality products because we are loyal to the origins.